What's going on, guys? Welcome in. This is the Edge DFS. We are talking Showdown. Super Bowl Showdown, Chiefs versus Bucks. My name is Tyson Smith, joined by Ellie Hernandez. Ellie, this is the biggest Showdown slate of the year, man. You excited?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, I even went back and watched some game film. I know it was prepping for the show, but it's almost cheating.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be one of the more exciting games and Super Bowls we get to see. First time we've ever had the winner of the last two Super Bowls play each other. You know, just some interesting shit going on. So I'm really excited for this, man.
Home game for the Bucks. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a Super Bowl at first, for sure.
So thanks for joining us, guys. We did a first look video, was it last week? Which really helped us. I think it really wrapped my brain around the slate a little bit better. There's going to be a certain amount of, there's going to be a roster construction things that we're really going to have to get into. There's going to be some cheap guys that we're going to have to force in, or we're going to have to fade Kelsey or Mahomes or Hill, one of those guys. So that's an interesting element to talk about here. So just to start off this show, if I know there's a lot more casual DFS fans or just people who don't necessarily play DFS as much. When it comes to Super Bowl, they're into playing Showdown. So talk to us a little bit about some very basic Showdown strategy when it comes to NFL specifically. And what are you looking to do? We've done tons of Showdown. We've been playing Showdown for years at this point. It's my favorite format. Talk to anybody who's just not familiar with the Showdown format.
Yeah, I mean, so essentially what we're looking at is you want to kind of just pick out six of the highest scoring players based on the salary cap that you got there in Draftkings. And you're going to get hit by choosing a specific captain. So to all the newbies out there, right, I think you just got to think about it for a second, right? All the newbies playing are going to be playing similar lineups because everybody knows the same guys.
Yeah.
As you see, when you try and build your lineup and put in Patrick Mahomes at captain and throwing Kelsey and Hill, you're literally not getting any Tom Brady or anyone else on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for that matter. So, just be careful, play with your money wisely, right? If you're gonna throw some money in a tournament, do a little bit of research and understand some roster construction. In this kind of a game with this kind of a total, I'm personally going to be heavy on 4-2. And I'm just going to go with onslaughts most of the way, right? I'm going to run it back with Tampa. I'm going to have Tampa 4-2s. I'm going to have a bunch of different variations of that because construction is going to be a little bit tight. So I think you kind of got to go for just the team that you think is going to be up and playing from and build with the guys playing from behind. So, we'll have a little bit of time to build here, and I think we can get into that a little bit more. But it's going to be interesting for sure. Hopefully, we get a lot of low-owned captain plays that we like.
Yeah. Obviously, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill, those are going to be your most popular captain options. Should we, if we're doing large field tournaments for anybody new to Showdown, can we go down lower to some of these lower middle range guys? And what do we need to happen? Do we necessarily need them to be the highest scoring guy on the slate? A $5,500 guy or a $2,800 guy? Can you go down that low and then fit all the best players into your flex? Just for any of the beginners there when it comes to Showdown.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can. But again, I just think this is going to be a little bit weirder of a slate. I think because of the way the pricing's built out, that's going to be kind of the idea that a lot of people get is, hey, maybe if I start jamming McCole Hardman and the captain, I can start playing a couple other of these guys.
Yeah.
So again, you don't want to necessarily have the same lineup as everybody else. You want to score the highest amount of points with the most unique lineup you can get. And sometimes it takes random darts in the captain spot. And I think, these are two explosive teams on offense. So I think you can actually end up with a guy. I'm not saying I'm going to run like, what is his name? God damn it. I always call him Shelby Miller. But the guy who thinks he's faster than Tyreek Hill on Tampa, Scotty Miller.
White boy.
I mean,
yeah.
He could end up with one catch, 80 yards, and a touchdown. And if he's cheap enough, you might be able to jam in all these other pieces. So I think you just got to get really creative on this slate and kind of just play your gut, man. play what you think is going to happen in the game.
So if you haven't watched us before, guys, we appreciate you tuning in. Throw us a like on the way in. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna do a deep dive here. We go through in the breakdown segment. We go through each position, talk about each player and their salary. So we get really deep, and I think it's one way to really have an edge, especially for the Super Bowl, where there's a lot of casual fans that only are playing players they kind of know. This will allow us to get really deep with things and kind of get that edge. So let's get into this. Let's just get into the Vegas lines here. So currently, KC is minus 163 on the money line. They're minus 3. Technically, they're road dogs at this point. The over-under is at 56, so this is going to be a high-scoring game. I hope, and I anticipate that it will hit the over. Ownership, as you can see, I know it's we've got a couple days, but I don't anticipate too many things changing. But ownership is leaning towards KC, and projected points are leaning towards KC as well. So one thing, what jumps out to you here? This is kind of around the same area we were last week when we looked at this. Nothing too crazy, except for now we actually have projections. Now we have ownership. So now we can actually dive deep and figure out some of the best plays. So what jumps out to you here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of this is too shocking. I'm pretty sure we're going to end up with the over here. I think this line is pretty good. I mean, again, I think we're just set up for a really exciting game. We'll get into a little bit more specifics of what I saw from the game film, but I think everything's right on. We could easily see another, what was it, 27-24. We could see a really close game like that. So I think I think I am a little surprised to see that Kansas City's only at 313 ownership, right? I would expect them to be a little bit higher, but again, I think that has a lot to do with the roster construction and the way the pricing's forcing in different players. So again, it'll be a little interesting when we start building here, because I was struggling when we were trying to look at our captains and fades, trying to jam some of these guys in there. Like it's kind of scary.
So Ellie, just talk to us about some of the things you saw in that last matchup. Obviously, KC won that game. Tyreek Hill had an absolute monster, one of the best fantasy performances we've ever seen. So talk to me about some things that actually jumped out to you in that particular matchup. And what do you think is different now? Because the Buccaneers are kind of a different team at this point. I mean, maybe not a different team, but they're trending up. I think we can all agree that Tampa Bay is a much better team now than they were back then, at least momentum-wise.
Yeah. So there was kind of a lot to watch. I know it was a little bit of a rough game from Tampa, but they had a lot to kind of be excited about. I think the biggest things that I noticed was Tampa was really predictable when they were running on first down. They did that pretty much the entire first half until they were down by 10 points. And then they started abandoning the run on first down. So I think one of the things that I noticed was it looked like their offense was getting a little kind of extreme on both ends of the ball, right? I mean, running consecutive first downs is kind of risky because you're not, I mean, you can easily get into a second and long and put your offense behind pretty quickly. So I would expect them to mix that up a little bit more coming out so that they're not quite as predictable. Keep the Kansas City defense on its heels. They didn't really get back into the running game until the third quarter. They tried again when they picked the ball off. I think they were down 17 at that point. But again, they just looked kind of scared to run the ball when they were down until they had a big momentum swing type play. So I expect them to kind of stick to it a little bit more this game. Again, we've talked about it a couple times, right? We want to keep the ball out of Pat Mahomes in the offense's hand. And if your running game is secure in getting those yards, you can do that. So I think that's going to be a really important part of this. But the biggest thing that killed them was just miscues and penalties and offsides on both sides of the ball. They were just they were destroying themselves with holding, offensive or defensive pass interference, defensive holding, all the time. And you can't keep giving an NFL offense in general, second opportunities to score. You start putting on the Kansas City offense. I mean, of course they're going to end up with points and touchdowns. And then really the other biggest knock that I saw on offense, just the lack of chemistry, but that should be all corrected now, right? It was Mike Evans not being on the same page as Tom Brady in a route, or Chris Godwin not being where he's supposed to, or Tom Brady not reading the wide receiver option route correctly. So those are things that I expect to be fixed. They've been, that was week 12. They've had a lot of time to develop since then, and we've seen a much improved offense, right?
Yeah.
And then on defense, and I know I'm talking a lot about Tampa Bay, but I think we kind of all have a pretty solid understanding what Kansas City's going to do.
Kansas City has the advantage here.
Yeah.
It's not going to. It's going to be if Kansas City, what Kansas City does to lose the game. You know what I mean? I don't think that Tampa Bay. Obviously they have the GOAT. They got Tom Brady, so you can never count him out. But I think Tampa Bay has to have one of their best games of the year to even have a shot in this game. So go ahead, dude.
Yeah, no. So one of the things that I noticed was when they were running man coverage, they're unable to keep up with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
That was they gave up a couple big plays. But so what happened was they shifted to a little bit of zone, and they had some safety help up top to keep Tyreek Hill contained. The problem with that is Patrick Mahomes doesn't get sacked, and he can escape the pocket for long enough against Todd Bowles blitzing to find Travis Kelce just right outside of right behind the linebackers. And that's essentially what I was seeing that whole game. Kelce was either running behind the linebackers or right underneath. And if Hill was getting double covered, then they just had that little dump off pass. The issue that I saw was Patrick Mahomes they weren't able to get to Patrick Mahomes very often. The offensive line was able to hold long enough, or he was able to make something else happen with his legs and get away from the defensive tackles, extend plays, which we all know that he's capable of doing. Yeah. So obviously that's something that they're going to have to pay very close attention to. Otherwise, they're just going to get beat again. Both of their safeties are out, right? There's 2 starting safeties, so they're already at a disadvantage here. And the problem is that impacted their run defense. Le'Veon Bell would come in, and he actually made it a little difficult on the defense, because we all know Le'Veon Bell's kind of even though he's old and may not be the same Lev Bell he was, he is still a dynamic runner. Yeah. And you're so concerned about the quick score ability that Patrick Mahomes in this offense has that the linebackers were held. They're indecisive of whether or not they need to kind of still put some support under Travis Kelce, or if they need to kind of step up and stop the run. And that allows for a lot more offensive push on the Kansas City Chiefs side of the ball. So look, honestly, it's going to come down to the Tampa Bay defense. Can they contain the Kansas City offense, and then can the Buccaneers running game, can they keep them can they keep the ball in their hands? Can they keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands? I think that's the way to win this game. And look, man, they really just can't give Patrick Mahomes too many opportunities. Otherwise, they're not going to really have a chance.
Who has the advantage, in your opinion, that since this is the second matchup? Does the Chiefs have the advantage with Andy Reid, the bye week stat with him? Or can Tampa Bay come back and figure out what they did wrong? Who do you think has the advantage in this second matchup of the year?
I just think it's the Chiefs. It's hard. It's hard to describe, because they're not just playing they're not just elitely talented. They're playing at an elite level. They're playing at their discipline is at an elite level, right? Yeah. They're not committing stupid penalties. They're not putting themselves in bad situations. So, and that's something that Bruce Arians teams are notorious for.
That's Cardinal fans know about God, terrible discipline in my opinion.
Having Tom Brady there, that kind of championship mindset, I can understand that they may have made some improvements, and I expect them to. Yeah, I expect this game to be very close. I just don't know that. I just don't know that anybody quite has enough to stop Kansas City right now.
All right, let's get to injuries.
Oh, I'm hurt. Oh, my neck, my back, my neck and my back. Oh.
All right, so Sammy Watkins is questionable with a calf injury. He's trending towards playing. It seems like he should play. Lev Bell probably should play. He's questionable with the knee. Now, Demarcus Robinson is questionable with the COVID protocols. So I believe it was contact tracing. It's possible he tested positive. I remember I tweeted it out last week. The bottom line here is he's got to take another test, and if he's okay there, then he'll play. I think the Demarcus Robinson news actually is a big deal because that really muddies the water when it comes to Pringle, when it comes to Hardman, even Sammy Watkins. You have a lot of mouths to feed there. If Demarcus Robinson is out, it makes it a lot easier to play Hardman and Pringle. So, before we get to Antonio Brown, what are your thoughts on the Chiefs side here? And if Sammy Watkins plays, don't you have to prioritize him?
So I'll be building specifically around like game scripts for Sammy Watkins. I think he's either going to end up playing like balls to the wall, or he's going to be very limited on the sideline. So I'm not going to be overexposed to him, but I am going to prioritize him as one of those wide receiver weapons in a decent amount of lineups. Le'Veon Bell, I fully anticipate he's going to play. I think this is more about being able to play in the Super Bowl. I would be very, 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 very surprised if he didn't play in this game.
Yeah.
And then Demarcus Robinson, that's really important. If he's out, and I think that gives, you got to play more Hardman. You're going to have guys like Byron Pringle that become, I don't know why that's a fucking hard name, but yeah, he's definitely going to be in play. So this is really important news. And then on the other side of the ball with Antonio Brown, again, this is a let Bell situation for me. He's playing.
Yeah, I think the only guy that's really doubtful / questionable is Demarcus Robinson, and it's all just based on a COVID test. So keep an eye on that, because if that's the biggest news to me. I don't anticipate any of these guys missing, but Demarcus Robinson being out really affects the value that we can actually find in this particular matchup. So anything else to talk about? Like Sammy Watkins, in my opinion, if he's healthy, he's the number 3 option on this team. I think he's clutch. He had a great Super Bowl last year, great playoffs last year. He started off the year pretty good too. So to me, if he plays, I'm going to prioritize Sammy Watkins because I feel like he's going to be under-owned, especially in the middle range of pricing. We'll get to pricing here in a minute. But I don't necessarily think he's a great captain option, but I do think that you could fit him into the flex at double the field and have some really good leverage because of his upside. For me personally, Le'Veon Bell, he really scares me. We'll get to him in a second, but at $800, he's priced really well. In our first video, we didn't really have projections out. We didn't really have a feeling for it. So you were leaning towards Le'Veon Bell as a really good option at $800. I tend to agree with you. I think it's more of a dart throw now, as opposed to like a guy that you can get into, 20% of your lineups. I think you got to maybe limit him to 10% or something. I think he's coming in around 5% ownership. So there's some leverage there. And if he does get a random, reception out of the backfield for a touchdown, you're talking a huge amount of leverage over the field. But it's scary because I just don't know that he can actually get more than 1 or 2 fantasy points in this particular game. All right. So anything else to cover here, or do you want to move over to our Thrive promo?
Yeah. Let's talk about Thrive for a second here. So come prop up on Thrive Fantasy for the big game. Thrive Fantasy is a daily fantasy sports and esports app for player props. With Thrive, you can eliminate the countless hours of research and focus only on the top tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the game. And Tyson's scrolling through one of the things here, and we'll look at it together in just a moment. Yeah. Choose 10 out of the 20 available player props to build your lineup. Each prop is assigned a fantasy value for both over and the under based on how likely it is to hit. Hit the most props and rack up the most points to win a share of the prize pool. Thrive has a free $1,000 contest and over $30,000 in guaranteed prizes for the big game. Use promo code EDGEDFS when you sign up today, and you will receive an instant match up to $50 on your first deposit. Download Thrive Fantasy on the App Store or Play Store by visiting their website, www.thrivefantasy.com. Sign up and prop up today.
I really I dug deep today. I downloaded some of the props. I brought it into CSV or into Excel. I compared the over-unders on the props to like projections for stats. And there's a couple great opportunities, a couple of locks that I'm going to, this weekend I'm going to play the $50 10K to first entry. I think there might be, right now there's a lot of room open. So you might be able to find a little overlay on that. If you guys sign up, use our promo code, they'll match your deposit. It's going to be pretty fun. I actually like a little bit of a remix for my brain to get away from DraftKings, to get away from just the fantasy side of things and focus on the props, the over and unders. The higher the probability of the over under, the less amount of points you get for that. So if you want to be contrarian, if you want to do a contrarian lineup and bet the under on Kelsey or something this week, you're going to get way more points than betting the over on his receiving yards or his reception, things like that. So in the prop segment, we're going to jump into that. We're going to have some good tips for you guys if you wanted to enter into that this weekend. Go ahead, dude.
Yeah, and the prop bets help a lot when we're trying to build lineups. I mean, if you have Tom Brady projected for 325 points or 325 yards, that's what the line's at, then you can project him for a little bit more of your own on your own personal projection. So you can identify who you want to play a little bit more on the DraftKings stuff. So these things go hand in hand, and it's good to have insight into both.
They've got basketball. They've got League of Legends, like lots of esports. So check them out. I've been playing some free rolls lately. It's really fun. I'm going to spend all my money on Sunday. I'm going to spend all my money then. Save it up for then. All right. So let's go to our breakdown here. All right. So we're going to start with our Captain Crunch segment. What that is I crunched out 250 lineups per captain here, right? And you get to see the high projected points for that series of lineups with that captain. You get to see the top ceilings. You also get to look at dupes, which is really important. And you also get to look at the difference between sum of ownership and dupe ownership. There is a big difference there. So Ellie, obviously Pat Mahomes, coming in around 20%, he's going to be the highest owned. And we talked about this last week. One thing that jumps out to me is potentially Tom Brady could be the fourth highest owned guy. And if that's the case, I'm going heavy on Tommy B. What jumps out to you here? And look at Ronald Jones, my guy. We built a ton with him in the captain. He's coming in, he's super low priced. He's got one of the top. He actually does have the top projected lineup as well as, low dupes. So what jumps out to you here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's going to be the first thing that jumps out. I do want to point out that, that does look enticing, but keep in mind, it should be one of the higher projected, right? Because we're getting all the really high floors of Mahomes, Kelsey, Brady, Hill. That's really the primary reason to run that. Yeah. Now, with that being said, that does not mean I'm not going to be having lineups like that, right? I will have Captain Jones. Just keep in mind, right? We got to be different somehow because everyone's going to be that 1% captain ownership is going to be a very specific lineup type. So you need to get different based on that. Yeah. Other than that, man, I honestly think Patrick Mahomes is a little too high owned in the captain spot. I think this is very much a price in a game where Patrick Mahomes, don't fight me, but this might be a moderately fadeable game for him. I expect Kansas City to kind of be ahead and be dominating in this game, and that could easily mean 200 yards and 4 touchdowns for Mahomes in the first half, right? Yeah. So that means I'm going to be heavy on Tom Brady in that passing attack. It's much cheaper, and then it'll allow me to get Kelsey and Hill. So I'm kind of surprised to see him that high and to be that well projected, but I guess it makes sense because he could easily be the highest scorer on the slate. But other than that, man, nothing else is too shocking here. I love Kelsey. I've been playing him at captain for weeks now. Unfortunately, he's starting to get into that price range that I think I'm going to have to favor Tyreek Hill. I don't think, the low projected points and the high projected points, he even has a really high ceiling too. So I guess that sticks out to me the most is Tyreek Hill here. And I love them at that price. I mean, it's not too expensive, and you you'll have to decide to fade either Kelsey or Mahomes. But I think you might be able to build pretty nicely with that. And 11%, it's probably too low.
Well, I like the fact that, look, I know Mahomes is going to be the highest owned captain, but everything else is pretty spread out because you have so many good options at captain. And one thing that really jumps out to me is Chris Godwin and Mike Evans being under 10%. And, Mike Evans might come in around 5% at captain, which that's just nuts to me. I know he's not grading out well, but we know he can catch 2 or 3 touchdowns. We know he has super high upside. He's the epitome of what a tournament play would look like, because he's kind of this boomer bust kind of guy. He'll get you 4 receptions for 2 or 3 touchdowns sometimes and 110 yards. Chris Godwin, on the other hand, is more of your consistent 10 target guy, going to get you 7 to 10 receptions most likely, and then if he can get you a couple long runs after catch, if he can catch you 2 touchdowns, that's where you're going to find a lot of value there. That's what jumps out to me is the Godwin Evans aspect, and even Antonio Brown. Now, if he's announced in on Saturday, if it's clear that he's going to play, I think his ownership will jump up to closer to 5%, but that's pretty good for everyone else, because then Mike Evans is going to be a little bit lower owned. Chris Godwin's going to be a little bit lower owned. One guy I'm avoiding completely, and it's simply, look, the fact that Ronald Jones is priced down, but I think Leonard Fournette is just going to be overhyped and overowned in this game. His ownership at 7%, to me, he's the same as Godwin. That's just insane to me. I think his ceiling is pretty low. I don't think he sees the ball enough. I know he can catch the ball out of the backfield, and there's a situation where he goes off in this game, but I'm just going to accept if Leonard Fournette beats me this week and I lose all my money because of him, I'm just going to accept it. I'm betting more on the fact that I think he can have a below average game here. So for me, in the flex, I don't mind playing him with the field, but at captain, I'm not going to have a single lineup with him at captain because I want to prioritize the better players and then go with the lower owned guys who I think actually have a shot, like Sammy Watkins even, or Ronald Jones, and then get creative in the flex by not putting together necessarily both quarterbacks and Kelsey and Hill. Maybe choose to fade one of those, and then instantly you're completely different. So anything else to add on this before we actually go position by position here?
No, you covered it all, man. I do want to point something out though, is we will try to build this. If this is too expensive, then this would be the only reason why I wouldn't do it. But I definitely think a Leonard Fournette captain with Ronald Jones and Tom Brady, or Ronald Jones and maybe even a pass catcher, it would be a very interesting lineup. So I think that's one way you can probably get a little bit different doing that. But yeah, let's get into the positional breakdown, man.
All right. So Pat Mahomes is at 12K. Tom Brady's at 10K. I'm getting deja vu here because we did talk about this last week. But now that we have ownership, now that we've digested things a little bit more, I think it's a little bit more clear to me as to how this slate's going to work out. I think you could fade either one of these guys. I personally would like to prioritize Tom Brady because of his price. It doesn't excite me to not have Patrick Mahomes in every single lineup. But I think, like you said, I think there is a game script where Pat Mahomes has a huge first half, or maybe he throws two touchdown passes to Kelsey, or
right,
3 touchdown passes to Kelsey. And then, not necessarily do you need, Mahomes. As long as you have Kelsey or whoever he's throwing to in the captain, you can run it back with, the garbage time / playing from behind BUCS lineup, which we've seen a lot in Showdown. You get into the fourth quarter, there's 5 minutes left and the team's down by 2 touchdowns. You get a bunch of garbage receptions from guys underneath. You'll rack up 10 plus fantasy points sometimes for some of these receivers just on dump off passes, just on 10-yard receptions, and maybe a garbage time touchdown. Not saying that this game is going to get out of hand. I hope it doesn't. But how does, are you going to be able to sleep at night? Going into Saturday night, if you're doing your lineups at all on that night, are you sleeping at night if you're fading Mahomes?
Yeah, I'll be fine with it. I'm not going to have a complete fade. Obviously, I'm not stupid, but I am going to have lineups specifically where I don't need him. Tom Brady comes out and throws 3 interceptions again this game. the last thing you need is Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs offense on a short field. You do that twice, they're probably going to take. Well, honestly, I expect whoever wins the toss to take the ball on offense first to try to score first. Bruce Arians has that fucking mentality. He wants to punch it in, and then I think Andy Reid's going to drive down, make Tom Brady kind of uncomfortable, make this offense have to win the game. So, throw 2 interceptions. You could easily be down, 3 scores in the first quarter, and then it's a different offense. They run quick dink passes, and they hand off. It's read pass. It's RPO. So it's a completely different game script. So I think it's fine. I think you can fade either quarterback. To be completely honest with you, I just think all your lineups need to be game script specific. So if you're fading a quarterback, make sure it's for a reason, and you have a certain player in place that you think is going to get some raw points for you.
I'm not going to play any Mahomes at captain in lineups in large field tournaments. We're talking 300,000 entries or the Millie Maker 600,000 entries. If you put Mahomes at captain, you're going to be competing with 100,000 other entries potentially, 50, 70, 80, tons of other entries. The only way I'm putting Mahomes at captain if I'm entering those is I'm going to leave 5,000 on the table. I'm going to do 4 running backs. I'm going to do something weird in the flex. So, I don't plan on doing a lot of Mahomes at captain. And I know that at the end of the day, he has the highest chance of being the optimal captain. So you're kind of screwing yourself over. But at the same time, if you finish first place in the Millie Maker with 100,000 entries or 70,000 entries, get a calculator out and figure that out. If you're putting $1,000 in, or even if you're putting $50 in, you might actually not profit as much as you'd want to. So I'd rather just try to figure out a situation where I can get under 40 or 50 dupes, preferably 20 dupes or less is where I'm aiming. But I think you have to pay attention to that this week. Don't just focus on, unless you're doing smaller field, 20,000 entry single entries or something. Then of course put Mahomes at captain and get slightly different in other areas. Now, for Tom Brady, I really plan to embrace Tom Brady at captain because I think he's going to come in lower owned than he should be. Although it could be one of these things where ownership projections aren't taking into account that these casual fans coming in just want to, they want to play Tom Brady at captain. So it's hard. It's going to be hard as we get closer Sunday morning. If we get some better, more accurate ownership projections, I'll sort of adjust my strategy there. So let's move over to running back. So for the Chiefs, CEH is 7,000. He's going to be the highest owned running back here. But Darrell Williams is coming in at 5,200. And then we, of course, have Le'Veon Bell and Darwin Thompson. Now, and even Anthony Sherman's getting a higher projection than Le'Veon Bell, which is interesting to me. So how do you handle this? I'm not a fan of either of these guys, but I'm pretty sure that one of these guys is going to break the slate, whether it be CEH or Williams. I just don't know who to prioritize. What do you think?
CEH is in a decent spot. He's going to get a majority of the workload. I think Darrell Williams is... I think he deserves more opportunity. I just don't know if he's going to get it. So we'll see how that goes. And it's kind of interesting to me. I think he's priced up a little bit more than I'd like him to be when he's going to be splitting carries with CEH. So I'm curious to see how that impacts his ownership. I'm just wondering if the recency bias is going to kind of cancel out the split touches. And if he comes in semi chalky, then I'm comfortable fading him. If he's under 25%, then I do want a decent amount of Darrell Williams. But I don't mind CEH either. It's 7K. I think for most of this game, these guys are going to get kind of slept on. Everybody wants Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and even then Godwin and just all the names, right? So I don't think these guys are going to get as much love as we're expecting them to. So I'll definitely have a decent amount of exposure. And RG, we don't even have those other two guys. We have Le'Veon Bell in the player pool. Darwin Thompson's not in here. So keep an eye on whether or not he's active. He's not going to play. Maybe if Le'Veon Bell is inactive for the game, Darwin Thompson does.
Yeah.
Sherman might. I think he's actually their fullback, so he is on the active roster. But Le'Veon Bell, man, has he played in the Super Bowl? I don't think he has, and I'm pretty sure.
I don't think so.
Yeah. So like, don't be surprised to see him get a goal line carry or two and have Andy Reid put him in an opportunity to score. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye on that. And he's so low owned. He's projected for fucking squat. But like, I'm going to be playing enough lineups. Like, I'm just going to reserve as many fucking contests I can for Sunday, right? So like, I'm going to be playing enough lineups that I'm very, very, very comfortable playing some Le'Veon Bell.
Me too.
It's $800. There is no other value, and he's cheap as fuck. And go back and watch some of the game film, man. Like that was the one thing that was just uncomfortable for the Tampa Bay defense. And this is the top rush defense in the NFL. And he's just such a different change of pace. And I don't know, man. I just $800 doesn't seem right. He should at least be like 1,200. You know what I mean?
I don't think he's going to be inactive, but if he is randomly, I'm interested in Darwin Thompson because he did get some play. Was it last week before, possibly? We actually saw him get a few snaps, and we're talking about a $200 guy at probably less than 5% ownership. Probably 3 or 2%. If he catches a random, 20-yard dump off screen on third and 20 or whatever, just garbage time shit, and he gets a couple rushes here and there, like that might be all you need. I'm not expecting him, Darwin Thompson touchdown. I'm just saying if Lev Bell is out, consider playing him because these are the kind of picks that the Shermans, the Darwin Thompsons that no one would ever play in their right mind that will take you over the top in a 600,000 entry tournament. I'm not playing these guys in smaller tournaments than that, though. All right, so if you had to choose one guy between CEH and Darrell Williams, who do you think is going to score a touchdown in this game?
CEH.
All right, so let's move over to Tampa Bay's running backs. So we've got Leonard Fournette at 7,800. Scored a touchdown last week, had a pretty good game. Well, look, Ronald Jones, I'm not convinced that Ronald Jones is still not the best running back on this team. And he's coming in at half the ownership as Leonard Fournette. He's only getting like about two projected points less than Fournette. You're talking about a $2,200 guy here. When we did our show last week, our first look, he was in every one of our lineups because it made the roster construction so easy. It made it so easy to build with him. Him and Gronk were like those are the two guys that I'm most excited to try to get over the field on this week because it's a risk. Don't get me wrong. If you're hearing me today and talking about playing a ton of Ronald Jones, I'm prepared to literally burn that money. I'm just prepared. But at the same time, the leverage on this guy, he's coming in around 10% ownership, maybe 15, maybe as we get closer, it'll be closer to 20, but still he's going to be way less than Fournette. Me personally, I'm all about Ronald Jones. I'm scared, but I'm all about it. And I don't mind playing them both together in the flex or one in the captain and the other in the flex. You agree?
Yeah. I'm going to have a healthy exposure to both these guys. I mean, obviously Ronald Jones at 2,200. I'm willing to risk a decent amount of money in dead lineups, just even if he ends up with nothing. But I think stacking him and Leonard Fournette is just easy savings on a slate where we're kind of struggling to find it. I don't think LaShawn McCoy is going to get much love in this game.
5% ownership. Is that just it's LaShawn McCoy, it's a Super Bowl, maybe they try to give him a pity fuck sort of thing, you know what I mean? Is that there's the Andy Reid revenge narrative, right?
Yeah, maybe he wants to whoop ass on Andy Reid, but again, I don't know if he's
not up to him though.
Yeah,
see the fucking field.
Yeah,
I'd rather play Darwin Thompson every day of the week or Lev every day of the week over McCoy. That's no offense to McCoy. He doesn't see the field.
Yeah, and that's pretty much where I'm at. I like both these other guys, though. Leonard Fournette, I do think is an interesting play. Again, I just think everybody's going to sleep on the running backs because everybody wants a piece of the offense. But This is a championship game, and championship football is generally discipline, solid defense, and dominating the line of scrimmage. And this Tampa Bay offensive line struggles in pass protection sometimes, and it's not like Kansas City has a bunch of scrubs on deep in the interior line, right? Even their defensive ends are strong. So, if they can establish the run a little bit, they might have a little bit more of a safe day. So I think you can grab Tom, both running backs, and then kind of stack the other way and be pretty well off. So I'm fine with it, man. I'm going to have some healthy exposure to these guys, and I'm going to have them as a centerpiece in a decent amount of entries.
Are you comfortable fading both Tampa Bay running backs in some of your lineups? Do you have to?
I'm comfortable fading entire position groups. If you can, if you can do 2 quarterbacks and fucking 7 receivers, do it. Whatever you think. I mean, it get weird with it. If you think that's how the pricing is going to give you an optimal opportunity to win, then do that shit. You're gonna have to get weird. Normally I wouldn't encourage that, but the sizes of these contests are so crazy that to be unique, you're gonna have to be pretty weird. Now, if you want to run an optimal and tie, and hope that your dart does tie with 150 other people for $1,000, right? That's fine too. Get your winnings, but if you're trying to solo one of these things, you're really gonna need to get creative. And I'm fine with fading. Dude, fucking fade both quarterbacks and just stack in all the wide receivers with Kelsey a captain. Maybe we can try a lineup like that. That's shit that you're gonna have to do.
Yes.
I don't know how to get around it.
It all doesn't come down to ownership specifically. I got all these, middle range, low on guys. It's about roster construction. There's not a lot of people who are going to be putting 3 running backs in a lineup or going 5 wide receivers, that kind of thing. So you could still have high upside by focusing on how you're building your lineups in your optimizer, or if you're hand building, you can just go out there and build on your own using those techniques. But in your optimizer, whether it's, Lineup HQ or Fantasy Cruncher or whatever you're using, you can set rules. You could set as many rules as you want. If this player is in your lineup, do not have this other player. Things like that. So this is where I'm going to get heavy on those kind of things, because I'm going to do a ton of lineups. And typically speaking, over the course of the season, I want to try to maximize my profits. I don't want to lose all my money because I'm playing every single Showdown slate. So but this particular slate, I'm focused more on home run hitting. I'm focused more on first place or bust. And it's going to be hard in, large tournaments, but I'm not focused on min cashing for the last slate of the year. I'm okay with losing everything. That's how I'm going to roll this week. And by being bold, that's how you win big. And I don't think anybody's, if you're playing DFS a lot and you're putting a lot of time and effort into it, you're not trying to break even. That shouldn't be your goal. All right, so let's move over to wide receivers for the BUCS. We've got Chris Godwin. He's at 8,800, well-priced. Mike Evans, 8,400, well-priced. Antonio Brown, questionable. He's at 6,200. They're all projecting pretty close to each other, within 5 points-ish. Then you've got guys like Scotty Miller at 3,400 and Tyler Johnson at 1,200. So right off the bat, and then look, you can throw Justin Watson in there, maybe Jaden Mickens as a punt return touchdown sort of guy like Mecole Hardman, except for Jaden Mickens doesn't really make it in on the offensive side as much. So before we get to the top end guys, Scotty Miller is going to be more popular this week because of that big play right before half last week against Green Bay. He's coming in under 10% owned. Do you think if Antonio Brown is out, that Scotty Miller's ownership will be in the 20s? And does that scare you?
Yeah, look, this is a very simple situation for me. If Antonio Brown's in, I will only get Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson if I absolutely have to because of salary. If Antonio Brown's out, I will have a pretty healthy exposure to Scotty Miller, and then I'll have several darts in with Tyler Johnson. Scotty Miller has some big play potential. Maybe I'll even throw a dart with him at captain or some shit like that. So, you can try something like that. But I just... Yeah, he scares me, especially if Antonio Brown's in. Otherwise, Yeah, I mean Antonio Brown's the play at 6,200. I know you wanted to talk about these cheaper guys, but
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just not interested in them at that price. I expect Antonio Brown to play in this game. This could easily be if Tom Brady wants to win this game, like this could easily be an Antonio Brown Gronkowski get targeted like 25 fucking times just because he's comfortable, determined, and they know. Like they played with him for years. We've heard the narrative this whole season. We've seen what happens when they start to get comfortable, and Antonio Brown was coming alive and at the end of that season. So, or this season. So I love Antonio Brown. I think he's a smash play. He's not going to be that owned, which is kind of surprising to me. This is his opportunity to win a fucking Super Bowl. So I think it's going to be interesting. But again, I mean, this whole side of the ball, these three guys are priced so nice that I'm going to have onslaughts. I'm going to have Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown stacks with Tom Brady, and then I'm going to do what I can with the Chiefs, even if it's just Pat Mahomes and fucking Lev Bell or some shit like that, right? Like I want to get some lineups like this. I think there's a decent amount of potential here. Chris Godwin could get 25 targets too. So Antonio Brown and Godwin could each have. They could have a total of 22 receptions for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. They could have all of Tom Brady's output. So I love them. I love this side of the ball. Again, I think you're fine just throwing in just positional players at this point, just because there's so many opportunities.
Bro, I think one of the most underrated, highest ceiling roster constructions is going to be Tom Brady in the flex with Godwin or Evans or Antonio Brown at captain with another one of these wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
That means you have to fade Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey, CEA. Like you can't get 4 Chiefs, which is going to be scary. I think that has huge leverage. If you were to put Chris Godwin at captain, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, and Leonard Fournette or Rojo as a 4 stack, just basically pairing up Tom Brady with 2 of his wide receivers. I know it seems like, oh, well, that has, why wouldn't you do that? Well, just because the way the rosters are working out, I think it's going to, I think Chris Godwin is going to be that guy who gets all the ownership. And Antonio Brown is coming in like 10% lower owned than a lot of these guys. That's with him and questionable. So if he's not questionable and he's actually ready to go, I think his ownership spikes up to probably 25, and then it lowers the other guys. Because people aren't going to want to play 2 Bucs wide receivers in the same lineup, typically speaking. So I think if you can prioritize that, you'll be unique. Not super unique, but you'll have slightly of a unique roster construction. All right, so let's go to the other side of the ball, Casey. You got Tyreek Hill. You have to take a second mortgage out on your home just to afford him, but same with Kelsey. But it's worth it because Tyreek Hill is, to me, you could play him in cash, single entry, large field tournaments, whatever you want. But if I had to choose between him and Kelsey, typically I'd choose Kelsey because of the targets, because of the volume. He's a safer play. He has a safer floor. But Tyreek Hill has the highest ceiling in the NFL every single week he plays. We saw it in week 12 in this matchup. Tyreek Hill can have 200 yards at halftime. And he did. He did against this team. So at that price tag at 10.4K, are you going to have, are you going to be with the field around 40%-ish on him?
Yeah, I'll probably be higher than that. He's priced nice enough, man. I think he gives you a little bit of flexibility. I know that's probably going to drive up, that'll probably move his exposure or his projected ownership a little bit higher as we get closer to lock. But, well, I guess I'm going to be 50-50. I'm essentially going to have the same damn lineups for Tyreek Hill that I do for Travis Kelce, except for whatever I obviously can't get because of the price difference. So, I'm really not sure what to say here. The only thing that I can say might be worth considering is entirely narrative based. He absolutely embarrassed the fucking Buccaneers the last time they played. It was it was absolutely disrespectful. Todd Bowles is a very good defensive coordinator, right? He's established a lot of elite talent in the secondary, and we've Arizona lost a lot of safeties that ended up getting paid pretty well in other places. So, you know, I definitely think they'll make some adjustments to try and contain him. But I don't know, man. I don't. This is why this game is so appealing to me. Is can they overcome? Can this coaching staff overcome the talent that's there? Tyreek Hill is still the fastest fucking player in the state of Florida. Like I don't know what they're gonna do if he gets behind the corner. Carlton Davis can't keep up with him, so it's too scary to me. I don't think I can believe any narrative that they're not gonna let him embarrass him again. He's just too talented. He's making fucking catches that he shouldn't be making at 5'4", right? Like I mean. We need to, like, how are you letting him catch these balls? Like, how does he have a 4.5 foot vertical and he's high pointing when you're 6'2"? Like, this is the shit that I'm talking about, man. And I just don't think that they really have a way to stop him.
Look, Todd Bowles' defense is super aggressive. So he is the perfect type of player to benefit from a mistake from the Bucs defense.
Yes.
You know, they're blitzing a ton of guys. This defense, just like in Arizona, they blitz all the time, the highest in the league, I believe. So Tyreek Hill is the kind of guy who will benefit from that. Also, you know, Hardman, Watkins, Pringle, Robinson, all these fast dudes are the guys who will benefit the most. Now, we all know about how bad Todd Bowles' defense, you know, the Cardinals typically during the span of time that they were coaching, the Cardinals were notoriously, you just look at who the opposing team's tight end is and you just start them no matter who they are. And that makes it difficult again, because it's the matchup favors Kelsey. The matchup favors Tyreek Hill. It's going to be hard to figure this out. It really is. So when it comes to Watkins, he's at 4,200. His ownership is, you know, less than half or maybe even a third of what Tyreek Hill's is. He's at 4,200, but Mecole Hardman's at 5,600. I think Mecole Hardman should be around the $3,000 range. And because he had a good game last week, you know, recency bias comes into play, in my opinion. And I think he might be higher owned than Sammy Watkins by the time lock hits. So how do you differentiate between Watkins and Hardman? And then we'll get into the Demarcus Robinson and Pringle.
I like them both. I think you play one of them in your lineup. I'm not going to play both of them. I'm going to be a little bit heavier on Hardman just because I think he's more healthy than Sammy Watkins is. I'm thinking of Sammy Watkins like Eric Paschal the other night, right? Where he was the chalk, but you know he's got a lingering injury that's actually moderately serious. So. It's something to monitor. He did have a great performance in last year's Super Bowl, but I kind of think just given the ownership that's projected for both of these guys, though, it's not even much of a conversation, man. You go slightly over the field, don't put them in the same lineup, and I honestly think you're fine. I think both guys have an opportunity. I'll probably have a couple lineups with each of them at captain as well, because I definitely think that one of these guys could crush it at that price.
If you're a defensive coordinator and you're trying to stop Mahomes from running, you're trying to stop Tyreek Hill from getting an 80-yard reception, you're trying to stop Kelsey from getting a 35-yard cross the middle seam reception. You can't guard everybody.
Dude, Mecole Hardman dropped a 75-yard touchdown last week.
So that's
in week 12. Sorry, when I was watching the game field here.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, the entire defense shifted to cover Tyreek Hill over the top, and he was coming across the middle on a post, just wide open, like shit you see in Madden. Like I'm pretty sure it was actually 4 verts that they were running. Like just fucking hit him up the seam, and he just dropped it. He has the opportunity to take it to the house. So
this is one thing I want to do when we build a lineup. I am not opposed to fading Hill and Kelsey. I'm not opposed to it at all, because I think that Watkins and Hardman, Robinson, CEH, Pringle, every one of these guys has an opportunity to pick up the slack that, you know, Tyreek Hill might be blanketed the whole time. Somebody needs to catch the ball. Somebody needs to be targeted. They're not going to throw it down the field every single play if Tyreek Hill is being double covered. So that's an interesting sort of roster construction we can play with later on. If I was doing groups, I would put Sammy Watkins and Mecole Hardman in a group, and I'd max it at 1. I'd do the same with Robinson and Pringle. I'd max it at 1. I don't care how much of them I get necessarily, but I don't want them in the same lineups together, most likely, unless we're doing a very specific build where we fade, Hill. If we're fading Hill and Kelsey, the Chiefs are either getting blown out or Watkins, Hardman, Robinson, Pringle, they're going off. So keep that in mind when you're building. All right, so let's go to tight end here. Sorry, my camera keeps losing focus. I don't know why. Maybe I'm fucking...
We got Tampa wide receivers, don't we? Oh, no, we already did that shit. You're right. Goddamn.
Yeah,
tight end.
Along. So tight end. So Travis Kelsey is at 11,000.
Play him. Don't
he's coming
play the other two.
Yeah. You got Nick Keiser, Ricky Seals-Jones revenge narrative against his old coach. I don't care about those guys. I'm not touching them. Watch, Nick Keiser scores 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelsey, 11,000. He's projected higher points-wise than than Hill. Look, I don't think we need to talk too much about this. Kelsey, just play him. You can fade him in Hill lineups. You can do Hill Kelsey lineups without Mahomes. He's coming in around 40% ownership. I'm probably going to aim towards being 50 or 60%. What do you think?
Yeah. I'm going to have as much as I could possibly get. He's going to a minimum 50% in my lineups. It's literally going to be at minimum a 50-50 split between him and Tyreek Hill. And then I'm going to do my best to get both of them in some lineups. So I expect minimum of actually closer to 55% for each with a couple Patrick Mahomes fades. So, he's had a wide receiver 1 year. Like he's the best wide receiver in the league.
So let's move over to the other side. Look, Kelsey, just play him. When we get into building, we'll try to figure out ways to fade him. But I think you got to focus in most of your lineups having one or the other, or try to fit in both when it comes to Kelsey and Hill. So this is where things get interesting. The Tampa Bay tight ends here. So Gronkowski's at 3K. When we were building last week, Gronkowski made it into so many lineups because he's just such a good price. And like I said in that show, Tom Brady and Gronkowski have been playing together for years. They've won so many games. They've won championships together. When shit hits the fan and the Bucs are down by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, they're on the 15-yard line. Who the fuck do you think he's throwing to? He's throwing to his guy. He's going to Rob Gronkowski. These guys are on the same page. Gronkowski came back. He came out of retirement. He was probably getting paid more to do Tide Pod commercials and to fuck around on the Fox set than he is right now blocking for Tom Brady. And that's what he's really mainly been used for lately. He's been probably a leader. He's been blocking. He hasn't been utilized in the pass game as much because there's so many mouths to feed. Brait has been that guy lately. But I think we forget about the fact that Gronkowski has had a pretty good season, up until maybe a few weeks ago. And we just think that he's kind of washed and he's not getting targets. I seriously think he can catch 2 touchdowns in this game. And at $3,000, I'm willing to put money on, put my money where my mouth is and play a lot of Gronkowski at less than 15% ownership. He's actually projected like 0.75 points higher than Cameron Brate, and Cameron Brate's at 4,800. Like a few weeks ago, I actually was super into Cameron Brate because he was way cheaper. So basically my point is here is the cheaper of these tight ends, I'm going to be heavier on, and also the ownership is around the same. So I'd rather just go with Gronkowski. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I think Gronkowski's in a great position, especially at 3K. Cameron Brate's been eating up a lot of targets, so that is something you do need to keep in mind. But again, just given their projected ownership, it looks like everybody's on the big names, and they're not paying as much attention to, I guess in this case, an old name. Both these guys are under 20% projected, so I don't think you even need to get too crazy. Like you won't have to be uncomfortable at all playing a lineup or two with Rob Gronkowski if you're just trying to get a little bit more balanced exposure. Personally, yeah. I have no problem going double the field. I mean, at 3K, where he's projected at, I mean that means I'm sitting at what 30-35% total exposure. I risk more than that with random ass guys that I don't trust in any way, right?
Eric Pascal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 3K is just not. 4,800 is a little bit more concerning of a price, right? If I'm gonna play a tight end like Rob Gronkowski, but I just think he's really priced well for me, and I think Cameron Brate's priced about where he should be, given the amount of usage and volume he's been getting recently, and given his ownership. Again, I'm comfortable playing it now. Let's I do want to call something out. You may be okay taking a random fucking stab on one of these backup tight ends, like Tanner Hudson. Who else do they have?
I mean, is OJ Howard back? I mean,
no, he's out for the season.
Why is he even in the player pool if he's on fucking IR? That's so weird.
Yeah.
No, if he was, I'd be interested in playing him, but no, he's out. You're right.
Yeah, so like I look for gadgets. This is going to be a fucking unlocking of random shit. This is going to be a gadget game. I expect I actually expect the Chiefs to run a fucking hook and ladder. Watch this shit. It's going to be a pass to Kelsey, and then he's going to toss that chick back to Hill. They tried running it in week 12. I think Kelsey was just fucking around, but I think they're actually going to try and run this shit because Tyreek Hill would have scored on that play. Like I saw him get the fucking corner bit all over Travis Kelsey, and he literally just would have gone right outside of the sideline. It would have been over. So they're going to run that shit. And I expect Bruce Arians is going to do the same fucking thing. I can see them opening up with a goddamn flea flicker right off the bat. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And probably to Tanner Hudson. I mean, it might even be to Ryan Suckup. So, keep shit like that in mind. Like I that's what I'm talking about when I say get creative at these positions. You may have Tanner Hudson. Look, it actually makes sense to run a 3 tight end set against a team that does not stop the run very well and is geared more towards a pass rush defensive line. If they can dominate the line of scrimmage with 3 tight ends, then they can hit play action in the goal line and hit Tanner Hudson on a little fucking dump off. Yeah. So
we've seen him get targets. We've seen him. It was with, I think Brait was out or OJ Howard. Both of those guys were out, but we've seen him get targets earlier in the year. Randomly, he almost broke the slate for us because we faded him. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Tanner Hudson for sure.
Yeah, it's just something to keep in mind, right? Like, and it doesn't even have to be him. Look at some of these value guys, and just think about, remember games that you played. Like, have you seen Anthony Sherman get a fucking shovel pass on the goal line, and would a $200 player with a touchdown benefit you? Like, I mean, think about shit like that, and if you like it, then play a lineup or two. No, don't run 60% Tanner Hudson. Like, just fucking cash at me or something. But I mean, it's viable.
Just because you're heavy on a player and you go, oh, I know this guy. If you have Gray's Sports Almanac and you know he's going to go off, it doesn't mean, if he's 10% owned, you don't need 70% of it. Just get 25%, and you already have doubled the field. You already have super leverage. I agree with you when it comes to anything can happen in this game. Last game of the year, Brent can't hold anything back now. Like, that's the sort of mentality I think. I think they're going to go crazy in this game. We got Bruce Arians, we got Andy Reid. These guys don't give a flying fuck about what anybody says. They're going to come out there and run random trick plays. That's why anybody's in play here. Every single player that's on the Draftkings, in the Draftkings player pool, same with FanDuel, you have to consider those guys. So let's get over to kickers here. Ryan Suckoff and Harrison Butker. Suckoff and Bucker. Some interesting names here. They're coming in each around 15% ownership. I personally want to uncheck them because I don't think there's a situation where Butker is going to outscore, he's 4,000. Who else is 4,000? Sammy Watkins. You've got
3,000.
Ronald Jones, $2,000 cheaper. You've got Gronk, who's $1,000 cheaper. I don't think, typically speaking, the way I'm building is that this is going to be a shootout. They're going to hit at least close to the over/under or hit the over. I'm not counting on any of these kickers to be in the optimal. And I think, at 15% and 15% ownership, you're getting leverage by just saying F these guys. I'm unchecking them. Now, there's a situation where you might need one of these guys. Absolutely. I'm not telling you guys personally not to play them. I never play kickers, and usually it works out for me. Every once in a while, we'll get a kicker that kicks a couple 50-something yarders, and we're screwed. But if Harrison Butker or Ryan Suckoff beat me, I'll be okay with it. I will. And, if it's 4th and 1 from the, 45-yard line, or I'm sorry, the 35-yard line, these coaches are most likely not kicking a field goal. They're just going for it. You got Tom Brady who can sneak the ball like no one else. You've got Patrick Mahomes who can sneak the ball. These guys are not kicking field goals unless they absolutely have to. That's my point here. When it comes to defense, Chiefs 2,600, Buccaneers 2,800. I think they're both in play, and at 10% ownership each for these guys, I like the defenses way more than I like the kickers. And you might say, oh well, that's counterintuitive. If each of these teams score 30 points, the defenses aren't going to be optimal. It's not necessarily true. One Tom Brady mistake, one Patrick Mahomes fumble, you've got 6 points from the other team, and you've only got -1 points from your quarterback. So, Ellie, talk to me about defenses. Are you interested in them?
Not entirely. I don't mind a little bit of exposure. I think both have the opportunity and the ability to score. I just think total's too high that I don't know if I'll be prioritizing this at all. If I get a little bit of exposure, I'm going to be submitting enough lineups that I'll probably cover my bases a little bit, but I won't be prioritizing this position in any way.
Look, the Chiefs gave up 27 points against the Dolphins, and they scored 14 fantasy points. They gave up only 16. Let me find some other examples here. So they gave up 20 against Baltimore. So my point here is, just because you give up points to the opposing offense, if you can get sacks, if you can get safety, if you can get turnovers, you can still catch value at less than 3,000. If these guys were around 4K, I probably wouldn't want to even consider him. And look, we're talking about 10% ownership. I'll probably be at 10 or 15% for each and just spread it out. That's just a Hail Mary. All right. So we're through the breakdown here. Let's get into our props. Let's talk a little prop action here. Then we'll get into our fades, our captain choices. We'll do a lineup build together. So let me switch over to, let's see here. Let me switch over my screen share. We're going to go to Thrive Fantasy. We're going to look at these props. So this is what the desktop version looks like for Thrive Fantasy. Pretty excited to dive into this. It's going to be fun to have some fantasy lineups built on Draftkings, as well as mess with some props. That'll be fun. Steve Smith, thoughts on Brait limited practice today at practice? Thanks, Steve. I didn't actually realize that. I didn't see him on the injury report. So that's something to look into. Ellie, do you see him on the injury report?
Yeah, he was definitely limited participant. I'm not concerned about it. I'm pretty sure that everybody's going to be listed pretty close.
Yeah.
It's the Super Bowl. I expect everybody to play, and I think that's why they're practice. It's
talking about practice, man.
Yeah, they're just they're making it through the week. I think these are walkthroughs.
Playoffs?
All right, so let's get into some props here. So the good thing with Thrive here is we're looking at, and here's the screen. If you guys want to sign up, you use promo code Edge DFS. They'll match your deposit up to $50. So here's the big tournament here. This is the 30K guaranteed, 10K to first. So some of the props that jump out to me here. Let me pull up my Excel sheet and look here. So some of the props that jump out to me are Patrick Mahomes passing yards plus rushing yards. The prop value is at 320.5. Now, where I'm looking at projections for stats, I'm seeing that projected closer to 348. And that, when it comes to passing yards and rushing yards together. So to me, you see that the over is only at 95 points and the under is at 105. But I think it's safe to say that I'm gonna go the over on that, the 320.5 pass yards plus rush yards. Another one that jumps out to me is Tom Brady. Let me see if I can find that. Tom Brady passing yards. 284 is what they have him at. And I think he's actually projected around 308 or 310-ish. So I'm gonna take the over on that.
Yeah,
Ellie,
I'm with you. I'm with you on that one.
yeah, I'm taking the over on both. And that's just the way now what you could do, if you wanted to play it differently, you could go heavy on your DFS lineups on DraftKings with a certain roster construction or a certain build. And then you could kind of hedge a little bit and say, you know what? I don't think that Tom Brady, I have tons of Tom Brady on DraftKings, but I'm going to play this as if Tom Brady is maybe going to have a little bit less of a game, or you can just double down and go, play the best plays on both. That's just one way of doing it. Another one that jumps out to me a lot here is Darrell Williams at 48.5 total for rushing yards. The over is at 100 points and the under is at 100 points. So I feel very comfortable with the under here. He's projected. Where's he at? Where's his projected rushing yards? He's projected at 27 rushing yards. That's 20 rushing yards difference. So I'm going with the under on that one. Do you agree with that? There is an opportunity where Darrell Williams has a great game. I get it, but the volume isn't there, I don't think, for the running backs on this team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that one. Honestly, so I was playing around with one as well, and so far we're like 4 for 4 on our picks here.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you on Darrell Williams. I just don't know if he's getting the volume. I really think it's going to be Seh or just the wide receivers.
So Travis Kelce at 95.5 receiving yards. He's projected around 100. I think you could go either way here. And I think the way you should play it probably is if you go Kelce over, maybe go Tyreek under. But Tyreek is at 85.5. So look, I actually see both of these guys hitting the over because you're getting 100 points for either the over and the under. I honestly am comfortable with both of these guys, especially if I'm going over with Mahomes on his pass yards and rush yard total. I think I'm totally comfortable getting both of them over.
And here's the thing: is the opportunity cost isn't high, right? It's literally a 1-for-1 swap. I'm more confident that Tyreek Hill is going to get more than 85.5 yards for 100 points than I am that he's going to get under 85.5 yards for 100 points. Exactly. If it was different, if it was under was worth, the 115 versus 85, then I might consider it a little bit differently here. But I think you need to go the over here and then the over on Kelce as well. Kelce is actually interesting. I mean, I think that one in comparison to Hill might be the only one I'd take the under on. But again, yeah. I just don't think that's happening. Just take the free points essentially.
One thing as a contrarian option here with Kelce would be going the under of 7.5 receptions at 115 points as opposed to the over at 85 points. Now there's a situation where Kelce gets 7 receptions at 100 yards. that could totally happen. So, there's the interesting thing with this, with Thrive, I'm really excited to dig into being contrarian by going under with Kelce at receptions, but going over with receiving total. Like the amount of people that are doing that is probably pretty low, although there's still upside for that. And you're getting 115 points if he gets 7 or less receptions. Any other props jump out to you? For me, actually, Fournette. I know you're only getting 95 points, but Fournette 74.5 rush yards and receiving yards. I'm liking the under on that. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Mike Evans looks a little bit interesting.
Mike Evans at 63.5. That is interesting because he's the kind of guy that can get you 50 yards and 2 touchdowns on like 4 receptions. That kind of output. And at 110 points for the under, that's actually an interesting play.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think the under is there. And honestly, I think you could even, if you wanted to get real fucking weird, you could probably take Mike Evans on the under for yards and then Mike Evans on the over for receptions.
Yeah, there you go. Or vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, he could easily have 6 receptions for 12 yards and 3 touchdowns. So
another one that jumped out to me, I love Ronald Jones for DFS wise at that price tag, but 49.5 rush yards. Unless he breaks one, I'm actually, we're getting 100 points for each, I'd rather bet on him getting less, especially being the second option. You don't necessarily need him if you're $2,200 on DraftKings and you're betting on him having a good game. You don't need him to get over 50 rush yards. You need him to score a touchdown or 2, or get a couple of receptions. Do you like that? Do you like that choice? 49.5 under at 100 points?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit more risky than some of the other ones that you have on here, but I don't know, man. I think that one's the tightest bet that you have on this out of all of them. I think you might. I think you might be better off trying. Well, then again, no. I that might be safer than trying to go with the under on Travis Kelce on receptions or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I think you kind of just got to dig into it. Maybe even the Harrison Butker, the over on that 7.5. That actually isn't terrible.
You know what's jumping out to me? Not looking at projections at all, and just looking at like this is the GOAT. Under 2.5 pass touchdowns plus interceptions, you get 120 points, which might be one of the highest outputs on the slate for Thrive. There's a lot of there's some 115s, there's some 110s, 120 under for pass touchdowns plus interceptions. That's interesting. I don't think that Tom Brady is going to get less than 2 touchdowns and 1 interception potentially, but you never know. I mean, this under here is actually really interesting because I don't know that people are going to be on that. Would you be willing to risk your $50 with betting against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl? I don't know that I am.
Yeah, I don't think that I can. Not in this particular game script. I expect them to have to play from behind, which means he's probably going to get a garbage touchdown here or there.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that was our prop segment. It's actually really fun to see these props because when it comes to DFS, we rely on Vegas a lot. When it comes to projections, they rely on Vegas a lot. So you can get a good idea. We did this a lot with MMA when you're looking at first-round knockout odds, things like that. When it comes to translating that into DFS, you just get a good idea as to where the projections and where the field's going to think that some of these plays come in at. So if you guys are interested in signing up for Thrive, they've got a ton of free roll. They got a ton of they have one free roll for $1,000. We've got a ton of contests. There might be some overlay. I would highly recommend you guys deposit some money, play this weekend with the Super Bowl. There's always it's always really fun to play with props. Like I usually don't touch props that much throughout the year, but when it comes to the biggest game of the year, I'm focused on props a lot more than I typically would be. So click the I'll add a link after we end this program. You can check us out on Twitter, and you can just go to Thrive and use the promo code EdgeDFS, and they'll double your deposit up to $50. All right, so let's move over to our fades. Let me share the right screen here. This is going to be interesting. Slightly controversial here, I think. All right. Y'all ready for this? What's the button? No, that's the wrong one.
Yeah.
That's the wrong one.
What's your name?
Tony!
Fuck you, Tony!
Fuck you, Leonard Fournette. Fuck you, Mike Evans. Look, I like both of these players. I just think that with the pricing and with the ownership, you got to be different somehow, and you can't play everyone. So I'd rather just bet on the fact that Fournette maybe have a not as good of a game as he has the past few weeks. And I feel like Rojo can come back and take over that role again. And potentially, maybe Bruce Arians was just hiding him. Maybe Bruce Arians is trolling everyone, and Rojo will come in and get most of the carries. With Mike Evans, I totally get what you're talking about. So tell me your thoughts behind the Mike Evans fade.
I'm just really high on Antonio Brown. I think he's just egregiously mispriced for the slate. And he's going to be the primary target for Tom Brady. And even if he's not going to be, it's probably going to be Chris Godwin. Mike Evans, I just feel like he's like Gronk, like he's kind of broken now, but he's still got those elite flashes. He does have some upside, but I just don't think I'm going to be getting there with the pricing. I'd rather just have stacks of Brown and Godwin if I can.
I mean, we can't play everybody. So I think somebody's just going to get left out.
Right.
Just way. If we're going heavy on all these guys way above the field, guys like Mike Evans, unfortunately, get forgot about. I personally am actually going to boost Mike Evans because I think people are going to feel the same way you feel, Ellie, because, Godwin is the kind of guy That's going to get more ownership typically. But Mike Evans is a red zone threat. So it's boom or bust for Evans. And it's also, in my opinion, boom or bust for Leonard Fournette. If this team gets down against the Chiefs, which I think they can be, Fournette might be game scripted out of this completely. All right, so let's go to our captain choices here. Danny Green, hit it.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
We're crowning their ass on DraftKings. Ellie, talk to me, bro.
Yeah, I love Antonio Brown, man. This is probably going to be a little bit more of a deeper GPP type play. Now, I don't even know if it needs to be that deep. We know where the chalk's going to be, and we know where the safety is. It's going to be Tyreek. It's going to be Travis Kelce, Pat, and Tom Brady. But I think Antonio Brown's going to ball out, man. This is him. This is his one shot, and he's going to get opportunities. This isn't the same thing that Le'Veon Bell on the other side of the ball is going through, right? Le'Veon Bell's there for the ride. He's going to help out when he can, when he gets his number called. Antonio Brown is going to be starting in the slot, and he is going to be playing to fucking redeem himself. This is a redemption game for the last. The dude has had CTE since Vontaze Perfect hit him, right? Like, I'm dead serious, bro. That is the moment that his whole career changed. Yes. And this is his redemption moment. Like, he got his shit together. He's playing with Tom Brady, and he's got a chance to go win a Super Bowl. I think he's easily in for 10 receptions, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Damn. Nice, bro. I hope you're right. Antonio Brown is not a very likable guy the past few years.
But I'm rooting for him, man. Like, it's kind of weird. Like, I hope he does it.
We want to break people down and build them back up. That's how we are. And I think he's been broken down quite a bit. He sure as hell has. And he deserved it. He's a fucking idiot. Yeah. But now he kept his mouth shut. He's he's with Bruce Arians, who's willing to give guys a second shot. They're willing, he drafted Tyrann Mathieu. And if he didn't take a chance on Tyrann Mathieu, who knows where he would be right now. So we're giving AB another chance. I hope he has a great Super Bowl. And look, this guy could be a Super Bowl MVP. He's the kind of guy that can absolutely win an MVP. I'm putting my money on Tyreek Hill. Now look, I know he's going to be one of the top 4 top owned guys. I actually think he'll probably be number 3. I think it'll be Mahomes, Kelce, Hill, then Brady when it comes to captain ownership and just ownership in general. But you just can't get over the ceiling of Tyreek Hill. There's a situation where if you don't have Tyreek Hill in your lineups, specifically at captain, you might not even cash. Where the dude goes off for 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. Now, the Bucs defense, they've seen this happen. So they're going to overcompensate and potentially shut Tyreek down. But I think it's worth the risk. And I'm probably going to do a couple hundred lineups this weekend. I'm not going to lie. This is the last we've dedicated I think we did 45 or more episodes of Showdown for NFL this year. This is the culmination of our season. I'm willing to play a ton of lineups this weekend, put in a good amount of money in order to finish off the season, right? And I think Tyreek Hill is the safest bet at the ownership. And you could still be unique enough in the flex and not dupe with a ton of people. All right, Ellie, let's switch over to your screen here. Let's do a lineup build. Hit us up in chat. I know it's Thursday night around 11 p.m., 11:24 Eastern. I know that there's a Cool Cats drop going on right now. I know everyone's on their phone trying to wait in line. So, if you guys can't watch this whole episode, totally cool. It'll be available for review. It'll be available on podcast form. But for now, if you're in the chat, hit us up with any kind of roster construction you want to see. Hit us up with a captain you want to see, and we'll build it live for you guys. All right, so I'm switching over to your screen. Ellie, you ready? You're on mute. All right.
There we go.
So this is the opto, right? With no rules.
Yep, this is the opto, no rules.
Do you have randomness or do you have any randomness at all on?
Nope.
Range of outcomes. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's what we want to see. So this is going to be minus, and this is the same lineup we built last week. This is the exact same outcome, except I think the Chiefs defense will be replaced with Gronkowski. Don't you think?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And I'm willing to put I'm willing to put this lineup in a good amount of contests because I feel pretty confident that Ronald Jones can score a touchdown in this game. And I think that people will be way over on Fournette. Now, in this situation, you could take Kelsey out. You could put Fournette in, and you can go up from Gronkowski. You know, I think that's also a good option. Or Fournette in the captain sort of a situation. Who could you get? Could you get Sammy Watkins there?
I mean,
Antonio Brown. Yeah, there you go.
I don't hate this though, right? Rojo, AB, Brady, Fournette, and then Tyreek Hill and Pat.
And this is the thing we talked about is for people, the small percentage of people that will play Ronald Jones at captain. I think he's projected around 1% now. I think it's going to be higher. I think it'll probably be like 3 or 4%, depending on what tournament you're in. But I feel like everyone's just going to do the same lineup, like you were saying. So this is a good way to mix it up and still have the same, relatively high ceiling. Can you get Kelsey in there instead of Patty Mahomes? Yeah. Look at that. That's going to be a unique ass lineup.
So let's leave in Antonio Brown. What can we come off of? 9,100.
Who'd you pull out?
Fournette.
Oh yeah, Godwin. Yeah. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a 20 max with just Rojo at captain and rotate out these guys and see if I can hit the nuts.
Bro, I like this one. Antonio, Tom Brady, Godwin, and then
4-2. No one's doing that. That's a 4-2. No one's doing that.
Yeah,
and
without Pat.
And you might think, oh man, that's a stupid ass lineup. Well, those are the lineups that win all the money. I hate to say it.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, if Ronald Jones has 50 yards and a touchdown, and we expect all these guys to do what they're expected to do, this very well could be an optimal.
All right, so erase everything. I want to do a lineup without Hill and Kelsey. Let's do like a, I don't know. Who do you want to put in at captain next? Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Put Tom Brady at captain.
Let's do it. Tom Brady at captain, and then
put Patty Mahomes in the flex, and then fade Kelsey and Hill, and go with Hardman, Sammy, CEH. That kind of roster construction. This is one way to put Tom Brady in the captain and be very different. Still have that high upside. Risky. Don't get me wrong. Ooh, Gronk. Can we get Gronk? Or Scotty, huh?
I like Gronk.
Yeah, we can get Gronk or Scotty. But look at that. So that's a 3-3. I love that. Hardman and Williams. Now, can you go down from Sammy
Hardman, go to Sammy.
And go up from Gronk, or go up from Williams?
Williams should get you say.
Yeah. See, look at that. I like both of those lineups.
Let's go back to Williams and see what we get off of Gronk now. 4,800. I mean, Jesus.
Braid. Yeah, this is a good. If you fade Hill and Kelsey, you can do whatever the hell you want. Play whoever you want.
That's fucked up, dude. This is going to be rough. I mean, hey, it's worth it though. I don't mind taking the stab or two at this,
Yeah, I'm not encouraging you guys to set your money on fire by not playing Kelsey or Hill in your lineups. I'm just saying, there is a world where maybe they're not in the optimal because they're so damn expensive.
So let's see. How do we build a Kelsey captain lineup and get somewhat different?
And let's do this. Put Kelsey at captain. Put Hill in there. Hill in the flex as well, with Mahomes. No, with Mahomes. Let's see how impossible this is.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mahomes, Tyreek Hill.
What do we got left?
Optimize that. You have to run Fournette, Rojo, and Le'Veon Bell.
I don't hate that though, man. I don't hate it.
Yeah, look, dude, I'm actually open to playing this. I don't mind Le'Veon Bell and then Rojo, Leonard Fournette. It's just scary not having any Tom Brady. But I mean, again, that if you're gonna do this, may as well be unique, right?
Chat, let me know if you guys got any NBA Top Shot packs. I'm like number 15,000 right now, waiting in line. Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I mean, obviously, I think you got to choose one or the other if you want to be safer. But that was not bad, Rojo. I mean, that just means you're. It doesn't make me comfortable to completely fade the passing game. I think I'd rather go with like Scotty Miller or one of those guys from Tampa Bay. But
So let's see. You know what? Let's go ahead and throw in Lab Bell and see what 6,100 gives us now.
yeah, Nicole.
Yeah, be cool, you know, or Cameron Brate, and then maybe we come off Lab. See, I want to have a decent lineup with Travis Kelce, captain, that I don't have to do stupid shit with. You know what I mean?
Well, why don't you exit out and optimize with Kelce at captain and see what happens? Well, get rid of Brady and Hill too. So we're fading Brady here.
Dude, they just wants Fournette, Rojo, Bell.
Yeah, that's a good combination. I mean, look, I don't dislike the Rojo Fournette because you're paying $10,000. You're paying exactly what you pay for Tom Brady for all the rushing. I just don't know that the volume's going to be there for them.
Time to 3,100. So that's where is he?
I've got an idea next.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't hate that. What did you want to see?
Let's do erase everyone. Let's do a 2-4. Chiefs in the captain with 4 Bucks. So let's put one of our favorites at captain. Let's go Tyreek Hill. Go Tyreek Hill at captain. And let's see what we can do. And then put Mahomes with him. Or you can do Kelce, either one, whatever you want to do.
Let's do Mahomes.
Now let's run it back with 4 Bucks. Let's go Tom Brady. Let's go Rojo. We might have to go Gronk. What does that leave us with? 72? Does that get us AB?
No, it gets a set.
Set or well, I wanted to do a 4-2.
Yeah.
This is why
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, AB.
Prioritizing our stack types because everyone's going to choose CEH in that situation. But you don't have to. You can leave 1,000 on the table. Shit, I might even set a rule to do that. You know what I mean?
Well, dude, I really like this lineup.
Yeah, that's a good lineup.
I mean,
it's reverse too. So if you guys don't understand what we're saying is, it's a 2-4 stack. You got 2 Chiefs, one of which is in the captain, and you got 4 in the flex for Tampa Bay. And we've seen those hit the nuts solo wins multiple times this season. I think people forget about those because it doesn't make sense. It's negatively correlated. Like, oh, well, you have a guy in the captain, but you only have one other guy from the same team in the flex. It doesn't make sense. But we're talking about, garbage time receptions like we talked about earlier in the show.
yeah, and I guess you can make a couple little adjustments if you want to come up the Mahomes. You can upgrade to Brate and go to Kelce. So that I do like these builds. See, this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying Tyreek Hill is just priced so nicely.
Yeah,
like I've gotten used to Travis Kelce being that price, and he's just priced well enough that you still kind of force in what you want to without getting too crazy.
So let's build one more lineup, and then we'll talk about general roster construction before we sign out. We're at about 1 hour and 35 minutes. Thank you guys for sticking with us. We appreciate it. While we're building, if you guys are interested in a Devin Booker Cool Cats giveaway for NBA Top Shot, we're doing a giveaway. We're going to be giving it away on Saturday night. Check out the Edge DFS's Twitter. Join our Discord. Basically, all you got to do is retweet, follow us, and you'll be entered in the giveaway. And the Booker Cool Cats is going for like 350, 400 right now. We're just giving that away. You can hold on to it for the Luka challenge, or you can flip it, whatever you guys want to do. We're going to give it away on Saturday night during an NBA show. So hit us up on Twitter and retweet us, and you'll be entered automatically. You got Hardman there?
Yeah, I'm kind of seeing what we can get with this. 7,800 left. I mean, Von Leonard Fournette. I still want somebody else from this offense. I think I'm going.
They need to have a dark mode. They need to have a dark mode for lineup HQ.
They really do.
Need to put that in.
2,400. What does that give us? Yeah, I mean,
Hardman at captain.
Rojo. God damn it. Let's do this.
You do Rojo?
Hardman, Mahomes, Kelsey, Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, Rojo. I don't hate this either.
I like it. I'm the champ says Leonard Fournette good at captain. Let's do a Fournette captain lineup.
Cool. Fournette.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. I'm the champ. I just think that me personally, I'm willing to fade him because I think he's going to be a little bit higher on because I think everyone's going to think the same thing. But let's try it. I like trying it here.
So again, similar optimal that we keep getting.
Get rid of Chiefs defense. And then in order to be slightly different, let's fade Kelsey or fade Hill.
Yeah, I think I like Hill just because he's priced nicely. So let's leave him in. And then we want Tom Brady, I assume.
And Steve, limited practice today. I'm going to look into that. We'll keep a closer eye on him as we get closer because if he is limited again, maybe we give Gronk another boost as we get closer Saturday night or so. We'll look into that again.
So let's see what we got here. We got Gronk, Rojo, Tom Brady, Fournette with Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. I mean, that's not terrible. It's unconventional for sure. 4-2.
Let's kill Rojo just in case if Ronald Jones stubs his toe running out of the tunnel again and fucks about 60% of the field again.
Oh, what? Think let Bell maybe come up off of Gronk?
Maybe. Can we get anybody except Bell?
So you got 29.50, so we need some value.
Yeah, go with Pringle. Or D-Mark. Yeah, either one. The great thing about Pringle and DeMarcus Robinson is they're not projecting well. They're projecting terribly. So if you have an optimizer, they're not going to pop up. And if you're looking at it on the Draftkings app, if you're hand building, their average fantasy points per game is super low. So they're just not going to make it into enough lineups. But we know that DeMarcus Robinson can have a big game. We know that Pringle can catch 5 balls for 70 yards or something. We're looking for ceiling outputs here. We're not looking for median projection.
So got 4,500. So
what, Sammy?
Yeah, but I don't know if I want D-Rob and Sammy and Terry.
You're right.
What about this? And then we got Tom Brady, Fournette, Scotty, Tyreek Hill, D-Rob, Patty.
I love it. Scotty, yeah. I don't mind Scotty.
I think
he's going to be low. And Scotty in the same lineup, nobody's going to have that lineup.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is risky as hell, but I mean, again, there is a chance that he takes a one to the house. He's going to get a target or two, right? So I don't know. It's not terrible. And
keep in mind, we're building for large field tournaments here, guys. We're building for large field tournaments. I'll play some single entries for sure. That's my favorite thing to do on Showdown is put in some single entry lineups. But we're focusing on contrarian stuff. I'm the champ. Did you guys win on the NFC and AFC championship lineup? I did okay for AFC, but I didn't do. I'm trying to think how I did. I think I broke even. I broke even. How did you do 2 weeks ago?
I did pretty well.
You did pretty well?
Yeah, I max entered. What was it? I think it was the Bills, right? Bills, Chiefs. No, yes. I think that was the one that I just went kind of crazy on and did all right on. Yeah, I onslaughted that game. I had so many 4-2s. I did all right. I think I ended up like tripling.
All right, guys. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Check out Thrive Fantasy. Check out our Twitter accounts. Join the Discord. We're in there pretty much 24/7, answering questions, chatting with you guys. We're sharing our exposures, things like that for our Showdown builds. We're also talking League of Legends. If you guys want to get some high upside, lineups for esports, join the Discord. Let's connect. We appreciate it. Ellie, anything to add?
Nah, man. Have a good night, and we'll see you for Showdown.
We're going to go live morning of the Super Bowl. So subscribe, hit that notification bell. We're also doing NBA Showdown stuff as well, and we're giving away that Booker Cool Cat. So we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks a lot.